So, Tyler, we've talked about industrial real estate on videos several times. It's no secret the subsector is on fire. They can't build these properties fast enough. Rents are rising rapidly year over year, but there are a lot of players in the space, and there are some differences between them. So, three that we've talked about before are Prologis, ticker symbol is PLD, STAG Industrial, ticker symbol STAG, and Rexford, which the ticker symbol remind me of that one.
REXR.
I was gonna say that. I'm glad you're the expert here. So, since you are the expert, can you give us kind of the 1 minute version of what the differences between each of them are?
Sure. So STAG Industrial is kind of we'll call it we go where no one else goes. So they are a net lease industrial REIT who owns a lot of properties. It's kind of scattered across the United States. They don't really have a geographic focus in any way, and they're a lot of what they do is basically, buy a lease from somebody or buy a building for somebody, lease it right back to them, and then or do a little bit of value add to it. And management has really hung its hat on its, value add strategy and kind of making the most out of kind of unloved properties. Prologis is the biggest by far in the world in terms of industrial real estate. It's United States and Europe, major player. I think we'll just say global because I think they also have some Asia and South America exposure as well. And when it comes to industrial real estate, they're the biggest player. They have the biggest capital advantage because, investment grade balance sheet, biggest in the business. It's really hard to compete with them on large scale development, on major, when it comes to mergers and acquisitions. They can't be beat because they're just so big. Rexford's a little bit of a specialty play. They invest exclusively in the Los Angeles and Orange County, San Diego area, which, sounds, well, that's kind of a constrained market. Well, that market itself is larger than the entire industrial warehouse space of Germany. So there's plenty of room to go around when it comes to that particular market. And as a niche player, they only work in that market. They have a lot more local knowledge. They can see a lot of stuff that maybe isn't even on the market and can, find ways to make acquisitions there and create a lot of value from kind of being the expert in Southern California.
Awesome. So I know your investment focus has kind of shifted over the past year or so, I'd say, into kind of smaller companies. And I'm wondering if that's the case here. You were kind of trying to find like the winners that no one's heard of yet, rather than the tried and true. So
yes,
is that the case here? Is it fair to say that you think that the smaller industrial REITs have more growth potential, or do the big ones have the financial and scale advantages?
I would say if I were to rank these three in terms of where I would want to go, I would put Rexford number one, Prologis a very close second. They're kind of, based on trading days and where valuation is, I could see myself justifying one or the other. And then STAG is kind of in a bit of distant third. The reason that I have been less optimistic on STAG as of late is because management touts a lot of their value add on internal rates of return, like how much we're saying that we're making when we do all these things. But one thing that's been a little frustrating for me is how much they use equity to pay for things. And as a result, it's been very dilutive to shareholders. And you can see it kind of show up in their dividend over the past 5 years. Their dividend's grown by just a little bit over 1% total. And, if you're looking for a dividend in a high rate and interest environment, you're either going to go very high yield or you want a lower yield that's going to grow at a very high rate. And with STAG at 4.5% and growing 1% every 5 years, that's just not a great value to me in this market. Prologis, Rexford, on the other hand, growing at much better rates. Their lease spreads, the difference between the existing lease that they have and the new lease that they sign, has been extremely high over the past several years, and I don't see that changing a whole lot, especially Rexford, because that particular market they're in is actually a net shrinking market. More residential is getting built, less industrial. And so with a shrinking market, your rents tend to go up at a faster rate. And you can kind of see it in their dividend growth over the past several years. Both Rexford and Prologis have averaged better than 15% annualized growth rates on their dividends. And both are somewhere between 2.75 and 3% right now. So with that kind of growth and that kind of yield, that's a lot more attractive to me than a 4% yield barely growing at all.
Once again, thank you so much for joining me. Be sure to click subscribe if you don't subscribe to my channel already. And as always, this video is sponsored by The Motley Fool. Be sure to visit www.fool.com/Frankel to receive the top 10 best stocks to buy now.